Welcome to the Titans Time Podcast, your Tennessee Titans podcast for the Pigskin Podcast Network. My name is Tanner Staggs, and joining me, as always, my brother Tyler Staggs. Tyler, go ahead and tell everyone how they can support the show.
It's really simple, everyone. Go check out our merch. All you have to do is go to titans-time.myshopify.com/collections/all. Hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, phone cases, stickers, you name it, it's possibly on there. Just your everyday stuff is going to be on there. And we really appreciate that. So go check it out. And if you want something that's not on there, send us a message. Tanner will tell you where to find us on social media, or you can comment on our video or on the audio podcast and let us know what you want to see, and we'll try and get it on there. Speaking of the audio podcast, whether you listen on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, make sure you're following the podcast. Leave us that 5-star rating. Leave us those comments, questions. We love that interaction. If you're watching on YouTube, scroll down. That subscribe button, if it's red, click it, turn it gray, turn on the post notifications so you never miss when we upload a video. Share the video with your family, friends, other football fans. Leave a like on the video, especially if you do like the video. We really appreciate that. Helps us out a lot. And leave us some comments. Big game coming up this week. Divisional round of the playoffs against the Bengals. We want to hear your thoughts. Share them down in the comments below.
Also, make sure you're following us on social media. The ones that we're most active on Twitter is Titans_Time, on Instagram, Titans Time Podcast, and on Facebook, Titans Time.
Yeah, easy enough there.
Easy enough.
Like I said, I mentioned the merch. If you want something and you don't see it on there, hit us up on one of the social medias. We will respond.
Yeah, and I mean, probably the simplest thing you can do. Like, a couple clicks. Like, you can subscribe, you can follow us on social media. Like, that's the easy things that you can do. But let's get into the show. Let's talk about the first playoff game
for the Titans.
For the Titans
this year
against the Bengals, a team that, I mean, can't lie, they've been playing good. They're a good team, and Joe Burrow is turning into a really good quarterback. So let's talk about this Bengals team, talk about this game, and our thoughts on it.
Yeah, so we know that this Bengals team, especially their offense, is explosive. I mean, they can put up points in a hurry. I thought it was funny because I remember back before, or right when, it was before the draft, teams were talking about Jamar Chase and how he doesn't have like that breakaway speed and this and that. And then you look this year at how many 50-plus yard touchdowns he has, and the guy's just breaking through tackles on slants and everything, and you're like, what were these scouts looking at? Because this dude is having a year. I mean, we're possibly talking about the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This dude is, like, insane. Like, coming into the year, you're like, okay, T. Higgins and then Jamar Chase is going to be a good compliment. And it's kind of like, okay, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is a good compliment.
Well, and, they really have a three-headed monster here, or kind of.
Yeah, because Boyd is good too. And then
as receivers go.
Uzomah has, as the tight end, is a guy that early in the season, like, everybody was counting out. And I even remember one of the primetime games that the Bengals played because, as we talked about with DraftKings, they have the daily fantasy contest you can play. Uzomah, coming into that primetime game, was a guy that everybody was sleeping on. And somehow I ended up with a lot of Uzomah. Like, he is a guy that over the course of this season has just been getting more and more involved. And he's not bad. Like, he's a good tight end. And he's got good size. So Burrow has a lot of options.
He does. And can't forget about Joe Mixon in the backfield. And so he has these weapons. Bengals fans, if you're tuning into this video, look, we respect y'all's team and y'all's offense. Like I said, y'all have a very explosive offense. But I do have one problem. I have been seeing all over Twitter where the Bengals, they've won their first playoff game in 31 years. And the fans are starting to get a little bit of the big head. and they're talking about coming down to Nashville. This Cincinnati Bengals team's going to be relaxed. Joe Burrow, some of them you can tell that they have not watched the Titans any this year because they're like, Joe Burrow went up against the same defense last year and absolutely torched them. No, we have like 3 starters back from that defense last year. This is not the same team, the same defense that Joe Burrow faced last year and lit up as a rookie. Our pass rush is extremely better, and he better watch out. But before we dive back too much into that, I'm surprised you haven't already jumped to this. We need to go over this injury report.
We do need to go over the injury report.
You know, here lately we've been recording later in the week, so we kind of know who's out, everything else. But we're recording on Wednesday, and the Titans, they open things up with the divisional round of the playoffs. They're the first game on Saturday, and I'm just going to take Nashville, Broadway, everything. I don't even know how early we're going to have to get up there to be able to make it to the game and actually get parking.
It's apparently going to be wild, huh?
They're doing watch parties.
Yeah.
So they're going to be shutting Broadway down. There's going to be no driving like up and down it. So
yeah, it's going to be crazy. But as for the injury report, I mean, honestly, I guess part of the reason that I kind of just glossed over it is because there's not a lot here, really.
It's been like the shortest injury report for the Titans since the start of the season.
They've had some rest, and they're having a chance to get healthy. But, with the Titans, you can at least count on something being on the injury report. Tierra Tart was a limited participant today, and then 2 guys that did not practice, Jack Rabbit Jenkins and Derek Roberson. As for the Bengals, they had 2 guys that were limited participants, Josh Tupou and Stanley Morgan, the wide receiver. If you play the daily fantasy contest at all, he was a guy that had like a lot of hype going in the last week of the season because they were resting some of the starters, weren't going to play them as much. Him being on the injury report does not mean anything. Like this dude, he's not going to play either way.
Now, one other guy that should be on there that does play a pretty big role is Trey Hendrickson. I mean, he's their Pro Bowler defensive end.
He's on IR, so that's why he's not on the injury report, right?
No, he's not on IR. He's in concussion protocol.
Oh, okay.
And he was a full participant at practice today, if I remember correctly. Their guy that is on IR is their defensive tackle that started for them pretty much the whole year, and I reckon has been pretty solid in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, so Larry Ogunjobi has been put on IR, and this is coming back to me. He has been solid this season, so that's kind of, especially with Derrick Henry coming back, and probably he has a lot of built-up energy from the past, 11 weeks. Mm-hmm. He's looking to run all over this team, and them missing guys in the middle of the line is not really great for them.
No, it's not. But, again, it's going to come down to, in this game, the Cincinnati offense is so explosive and can put up points so quick. Our defense is going to be tested. And you said Jack Rabbit Jenkins was on the injury report. I'm taking this as a rest day, like a veteran rest day. I'm not really looking too much into it. And I know also Greg Maben was put on the sickness list today. So here's to hoping he's the only one out of that defensive back group that gets put on that list.
Yeah, and he's like one of the first people since the playoffs have started, I am, maybe not that has been put on the sickness list, but as far as people that have tested positive for COVID since the playoffs have started, there was this huge peak right before the playoffs. Nothing. Basically, nothing. So, I mean, obviously great for the NFL to not have people out with COVID during the playoffs. Maybe coincidence, maybe not. I'm not here to say either way, but it's just an observation. That's your stat chat for the week.
Now, you were talking about Henry coming back, well rested. And going against this defense, them missing, I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name. Missing him in the middle.
Say it with me, Ogunjobi.
No, I'm not going to butcher his last name. But the Bengals, if you just look at the stats, have the 5th best rushing defense in the league. That being said, I will admit, I was watching A to Z Sports this morning, and Zach Bingham brought up a good point about that, how it can be skewed a little bit because of this great Bengals offense. They had 5 games
Where they've been ahead by.
Yeah, where it was a blowout. So teams had to go away from the run, and whoever they were facing had to throw the ball a lot. And if you look at their last game in the wild card against the Raiders, they actually allowed 103 rush yards, which their average on the year is allowing 105. But in that game, I believe that, let me pull up the box score right quick, because I want to make sure that I get this right.
Well, one thing I do know about that game is early on, Josh Jacobs was playing great.
He had 13 attempts for 83 yards. So he was, he had a pretty good yards
He
per
had
carry.
several long runs in like the first quarter, first half.
So that could be promising for this Titans team. And Vrabel's already come out and said they run the ball. They're not going to shy away from that.
Yes, we know.
And here's going to be the key. This week of all weeks, the Titans need to come out with a fast start. I mean, don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I don't necessarily know if, the whole we're going to come out and run it down your throat for 3 straight plays is necessarily the best way to get off to a hot start. But, I do understand the sentiment of we want to be a team that establishes the run. I definitely understand.
Since you mentioned that, and I know we're kind of bouncing all around here, but there's just so many things to hit on and talk about. And I do want to come back to talking about the Bengals offense against our defense. But for the Titans, first play of the game for their offense, what do you think it's going to be? What do you think it's going to be, and what do you wish that they would do?
I think we all obviously know what it's going to be, is a handoff to Derrick Henry right up the middle, and it's Derrick Henry. This is not the...
Do you think it'll be up the middle? Do you think it'll be up the middle or run left?
I don't know. But either it's going to be a handoff to Derrick Henry, and this is not Deontay Foreman. Listen, those guys were great, but he's probably going to fall forward for like 3, maybe 4 yards. Even though he'll probably get hit at the line, what it needs to be is a play action pass to Julio, AJ, whoever, somebody deep, because everybody in the stadium knows you're going to hand the ball off. But I definitely like Derrick Henry coming back. He's been gone for so long, like. That first play, even though, like, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, like, first play really does not matter any more than the rest of the plays in the game, except for maybe, like, I don't know. If you're up by 40 points, obviously that play doesn't matter as much as... But anyways, that play is going to have so much anticipation from all the fans just because of the fact that Derrick Henry is back.
So... I'm glad that you made a couple of points there that I really agree with. And I do want to point out, Derrick Henry has not officially been activated from IR, but he did talk to reporters for the first time today. And he also, yesterday in practice, so on Tuesday, had contact. And I reckon he reacted well to that. It didn't hurt anything. But one of the reporters asked him about playing Saturday, and he kind of gave a little smirk, and he was like, we're going to see how this week goes and everything. But everyone knows he's going to be activated.
Derrick Henry is going to play in this game. If he doesn't play, if he does not play, someone has to be fired. Someone has to be fired prior to the game.
I don't know how everything works when you move to the postseason, but since the Titans designated him to return, and I don't know how it works since they didn't have a game last week during Wildcard Weekend, but during the season, if you designated a guy to return from IR, you had a 21-day window to activate them to the active roster, or else they were done the rest of the year. So they designated him to return before the Texans game, which makes this the third week that he's been designated to return. So he has to return, or else
there's literally no universe, no scenario where Derrick Henry does not play in this ballgame. I don't care if you're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars in the wild card round. In the divisional round. Sorry, he's gonna play.
I know. I wanted to throw that information out there, but everyone knows that he's going to be activated. And you said everyone in Nissan Stadium is going to know that the first play for the Titans offense is going to Derrick Henry. But I'm going to take it a step further. Everyone who is going to be watching that game or covering that game all over the world, they know that more than likely the ball is being handed to Derrick Henry. The Cincinnati Bengals know that ball is going to be handed to Derrick Henry. And you know that they're going to sell out to try and stop him, which is why, and you said it, and I think you said this because we both already kind of talked about it, and I pointed it out to you. This would be the perfect time to take and just run that play action, have Julio and AJ sprinting down the field, and hit one of them in stride. More than likely have a huge gain or even a touchdown. It just makes too much sense to do that. Even if you run the play action and just hit one of them on a slant, we know how that can go for AJ. And I think you need to take advantage of the Bengals cornerbacks, because I'll admit it, I haven't watched many Bengals games. I watched when they play the Raiders in the wild card round. But did you know that one of their starting corners is Eli Apple?
I did not know that. But what I do know is that the Bengals have really, made their season based off of offense. I feel like their defense has not necessarily, and you mentioned they have the great statistics as far as their run defense. Like, this team is fueled off of its offense. I think the Titans are really going to have no problem scoring on them. And that's actually a good thing, because the defense has really been strong this season, and I think
especially to close out the season.
Yeah, I think they can give the Bengals offense enough resistance to pull it out. I really do.
And another thing that I want to mention is you talked about that first play. How much would it actually matter in kind of the grand scheme of things for the game? That first play could matter a lot as far as starting the game out on a good note. Because if you start out slow, and say this Bengals offense comes out clicking and our defense is maybe a little bit slow after having that bye week and everything, and just, maybe, I don't want to say they're too relaxed, and you let that big play happen, and then next thing you know, you're down 7-0. You get where I'm going with this?
No, I get.
So that's where that first play can matter, because if you can do something to put you in plus territory of where it's second and short, and then you can hand the ball off. But, we said this before the first game of the season when the Titans opened up against the Cardinals. We were like, the Cardinals know where the ball is going to go on the first play of the game. Surely they're not just going to hand it to Henry, mix it up, pass on first, and it didn't happen. So it's going to be interesting to see how Todd Downing actually starts this game. Yes, everyone is going to be ready for Henry to get the ball, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm just ready for that moment of him running out of the tunnel. That place is going to go absolutely berserk.
Yeah, I agree. It's just been this is kind of a culmination of what everybody's been waiting for. And the fact that the first playoff game and Derrick Henry returning to playing just kind of converges into kind of the same moment. It's kind of like Derrick Henry's return, because it's something that we've kind of put in our minds this whole time. Like, okay, Derrick Henry's going to be back for the playoffs. Derrick Henry's going to be back. And now Derrick Henry comes out of the tunnel, and it just kind of has that connection. It's like, it's all right, it's the playoffs.
Like you said, it's the playoffs.
And also, another thing that is really, really going to go well for Derrick Henry, I think, is, correct me if I'm wrong, but just from what I have seen, I feel like the offensive line has drastically improved since Derrick Henry went out.
They've had their moments where they've played, a lot better, and there's still been times where they haven't been the best. But just think of it from Ryan Tannehill's perspective. He's gone through most of this season without his main guys, and now playoff time's here, win or go home, and all of a sudden, over the last couple weeks of the regular season, you had AJ and Julio getting back into the mix. And now you get truly the leader of this offense back in the big running back behind you, where he can look back and be like, okay, yeah, Foreman come in, done his job, but we got the king back now. And this is just absolutely fixing to change the game for us.
Yeah, and now it's time to go on to our best bet segment of the podcast.
Presented by
DraftKings. We're on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is celebrating with a huge odds boost for new customers. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56-1 odds on any team. So if you bet $5 on any team to win, you will get $280 in free bets if your team wins. If the sportsbook's not available in your state, you can still get in on the action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code TPPN for 56-1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And to start this out, as always, this is not betting advice. I cannot remember exactly how we ended the regular season. I think I may have been like 14 of 26, and you were like...
I have no idea.
I think you were 6 of
I know 26. That I said I did not want to do this, but considering we don't exactly know the score, the one thing we do know is that you won the regular season, so I'm proposing we start over.
You would do that to me.
No. I am proposing that we start over.
As long as you admit...
Fresh, clean. You won the regular season. We all know that the postseason is what really matters.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to counter-offer to you here then. And that's going to be, if the Titans win this game against the Bengals and keep moving on, say they keep moving on, we keep piling on to the regular season. If and fingers crossed this is not the case, if this is the last game the Titans play, we will count the playoffs separate.
Okay.
So that work for you?
Yeah.
All right, so general information for this game, and again, this is earlier in the week than what we've been recording, but the Titans are 3.5-point favorites right now. And just to reiterate, this is on Wednesday. And the over and under for points is 47. So I know more than likely you're going to want to... I see you peeking over here at my bets. Look, just because I write 4 down doesn't mean that you can look over here and try and steal.
No, I'm not trying to steal any, but I will go ahead and go first. One that I really like is Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon to combine for 150-plus rushing yards. That is minus 105, almost even odds there, which is great because like Derrick Henry's probably going to get that by himself. The other one that I like is over 47 for the total.
All right, I figured you might go with the over, and I was looking at those divisional specials. I was, and
I didn't see you write down the running back one, so I
didn't.
I'll take that.
And because it was so tough, because I'm trying to figure out how exactly the Bengals will end up using Mixon this game, considering the Titans have the second best run defense in the league this year. And as we mentioned, the Bengals have the fifth best, which is kind of skewed some, but you never know. That one seemed risky to me, but it's probably not as risky as the divisional special that I wrote down, and that is that Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones will each have 50-plus receiving yards. And the odds on that are plus 500. So, that's one that you're talking about 4 different guys hitting that 50-plus receiving yard mark. But if for some reason this turns into a shootout,
yeah, it looks great.
That could be a good one. And then, as I said, the Titans are 3.5-point favorites. That one is that spread is a little bit iffy for me. So I'm going to go with the Titans alternate spread of 2.5 points, minus 2.5. So Titans win by 3, this hits, and the odds on that are minus 155. And again, this is not betting advice.
Not at all. So let's move on. I don't really have a stat chat this week, but one thing that I did want to talk about is I'm going back to 538 and looking at their, I guess, predictions, their odds. Yeah, their odds, I guess you would say. But they have odds for basically every different step of the rest of the playoffs. Make the conference championship, make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. And I normally really agree with their stuff, like a lot. So right after the Titans had beat the Rams, the Titans were ranked number 1, and they had like a 16 or 17% chance to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, there's teams with much higher odds than that now because the field has been greatly reduced to just the teams in the division round. But I feel like the Titans are being a little bit underrepresented here.
Well, look, Titans are the worst number 1 seed ever. I mean,
you're the number 1 seed. Not only that, but like the Bills and the Chiefs are both ranked above this. So I'll just go down the order here.
That's the real AFC Championship
of teams to win the Super Bowl. The Packers at 25%. The Chiefs are falling right behind them at 24. Bucks 15, Bills 12, Titans 10. And then I'll just stop there because for this argument that I'm talking about, the rest doesn't really matter. The Chiefs and the Bills have to play each other. How is one odd still greater than the Titans? Like, the Chiefs' odds are double the Bills. If you really think that the Chiefs have a 65% chance of making the conference championship, which is what they have, how are the Bills' odds higher than the Titans to win the Super Bowl? Because the Bills literally have almost half of the chance that the Titans do of making the conference championship. But it's like they're almost saying, well, if the Bills make the conference championship, they're pretty much going to win the Super Bowl. Because if you look at it here, so the Bills have a 35% chance of making the conference championship, which means beating the Chiefs, right? Then if you look at their odds to make the Super Bowl, which means win that conference championship game, it drops from 35% to 22%, which means that their percentage goes from a 35% chance to make the conference championship, 22 to win that game, and that's a drop of 13 percentage points. Now, those aren't like directly related, those percentages aren't. But then when you look at the Titans, 66% chance to win this divisional game and move on to the conference championship. But then they drop all the way to a 27, which is almost what the Bills are down to make the Super Bowl. But they have such a greater chance of making it to that conference game. I don't know. The numbers don't make sense to me. It's almost like they're saying there's pretty much very minimal shot that the Titans beat the Chiefs or the Bills.
Because of this BS narrative that the Titans are the worst number 1 seed, like it pisses me off because the media does not want to respect. Now you have some out there that will acknowledge what the Titans have done, but they still want to glance over it and be like, that was, which granted I get, that was regular season. This is postseason, so it's not about what you done then, it's about what are you going to do now. But the Titans proved time and time and again in the regular season, when you line up these opponents, the Bills and the Chiefs, they beat them. They smacked the Chiefs and destroyed them. The Bills, that was a lot closer game, come down to, the last seconds of the game. But they don't want to respect the Titans, and I'm with you. I don't know how, since the Bills and Chiefs play each other, their odds for winning the Super Bowl can be better than the Titans.
Well, basically what it says is whoever comes out of this game is very likely the team that is going to make it to the Super Bowl out of the AFC.
And that fuels me even more. Besides just being a Titans fan and wanting to see them finally get that Lombardi trophy, I also want them to get to that point just so all of these media members that are down on them or overlooking them have to acknowledge them then and be like, okay, this Titans team done it. And, we have the advantage of the road to the Super Bowl going through Nashville right now.
Yeah, and also another thing on here, some of the ratings that they use for these teams, the ELO rating, the Titans out of all of these teams have the lowest ELO rating out of any team except the Bengals in the rest of the playoffs.
But this Titans team is one that I guarantee you all these other teams really hope they don't have to face because of their style of football.
I don't know. I guess we're going to see how it plays out, and we could end up being terribly wrong. These ratings and what the media is saying could end up being terribly wrong. Who really knows until it plays out? But let's get into our quick hitters.
Yeah, so quick hitters, we'll start it off, as always, with our TTP fan takes. This time we're going to start out with Facebook. Brother-in-law Thomas Peterson. He says, score prediction, 35-34. Titans barely get the win there. And he said the Bengals gain more yards on offense than the Titans, and Tannehill throws a pick. I want to bring a little, I don't know if you've noticed this or if you have went back and looked at the stats for this, but in, I believe it's Tannehill's last 3 games, he has thrown 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And if you look at Joe Burrow's last 5 games, he has thrown for, I believe it's 13 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Now, for the whole season, regular season, both guys threw 14 on the year. So, just wanted to throw that out there because of the Tannehill throwing a pick. That could be something that changes this game.
Yeah.
The turnover battle. Now, hopping over to Twitter, we have friend of the show. I'm going to call him a friend of the show, I guess, here. If you're listening, Jacob, just giving you a hard time. Jacob Patterson, he says that bold prediction is that Derrick Henry is held under 100 yards rushing. The Titans go down 21-0 early in the game before coming back to win by 2 with a last-second field goal. So his official score prediction is 30-28, Titans winning. Jacob, I'm going to say I don't know how I feel about you picking the Titans to win this game because I know how your betting goes when it comes to the NFL.
Jacob's talking about Stick to college. I'm just fine.
Then we have Marvin. Find him on Twitter at Marvin NNRC. Go give him a follow. He said, score prediction 31-28, Titans winning. The Titans go up 14 in the first quarter, rely heavy on the run for the remainder of the game, and the Bengals cut it to 3 at the end of the game. Then Jonathan Blasdale. Sorry for butchering your name there. Go follow him at JohnnyBlaze_82. Score prediction 36-28, Titans winning. And then Titans Therapy podcast. Go give them a follow. Those guys, I've seen some of their videos. They do great work. Fun to listen to. Go follow them on Twitter at Titans Therapy. Corey says 34-24, Titans winning. And Gavin says 24-20, Titans winning. So like I said, go give them a follow. And that's all of the fan takes that we have. So now we need to jump into our keys to the game, and I'll let you start that one off for us.
I'm going to say my key to the game is don't forget about the pass game. It's important to get Derrick Henry back in the swing of things. It's important to establish the run, but don't forget that there are a lot of times when it is going to be probably a better move to pass the ball.
All right, I like that. And now this is our key to the game, or keys to the game, because I do feel like there's a couple of things that the Titans need to focus on, even though they may be obvious. We talked about it. This Bengals offense is explosive. I think I seen a stat today that shows that they have like 8 plays of 50 plus yards this season, and Chase has 5 of them. So you need to, and the Titans have been better about this as of towards the end of the season in making the tackle and not letting those bigger plays happen. So limit those explosive plays. Then another key to the game. We know how good this Titans run defense is. But one thing that at times I'm going to say they could have done better with is the screen game for stopping the running back. And that is one way that the Bengals get Mixon involved. It's not just, handing him the ball and letting him run it. They do these screens, get the ball into their playmaker's hand, and let him go try and make a play. So the Titans need to just be aware of that and not let Mixon slip by them and catch that screen pass and then gain a chunk of yards. So,
okay.
All right, and then like you said, I'm going to piggyback off yours. Not forgetting about the pass game. Again, first play of the game, love to see them hit that play action. At least take a shot.
Yeah, I think that would be the best move, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll get into my score prediction and key to the game. I think Titans...
You mean bold prediction?
Yeah, sorry, bold prediction. I think Titans 28, Bengals 24. And then I'm going to say my bold prediction is Derrick Henry will throw a touchdown.
Okay. I like that. So you're actually taking the Titans to cover the 3.5 spread here.
Yeah. I'm not as confident in my score prediction as I am that it'll be over 47 points. I like what
not as confident in that as I am Derrick Henry throwing a touchdown.
Yeah. I like your alternate spread. I really do. I think that's much better. You could even pair that, I think, if you wanted to get back up to that around plus 100 or even odds, you could pair that with something like, alternate total, bring that down to like 44, probably be in business.
Yeah, that may be a good move there. So my score prediction, I am going to have it with the Titans covering that alternate spread. I'm going to say, just because I think the Titans are going to have to put up points, and the Bengals can put up points in a hurry. I'm going to say 31-28, Titans winning. Bold prediction, you went with Derrick Henry throwing a touchdown pass. I'm going to say A.J. Brown throws a touchdown pass because we've seen that trick play kind of trickle in a couple of times this year. Granted, one time A.J. almost threw an interception off of it, but I'm just wondering if the Titans sprinkle that in again and A.J. actually gets one.
What about Big Jeff catching a touchdown?
Ooh, see, I thought about that too.
Or running a touchdown. It's so much better if Derrick, if he's in to block in a wild card setup. Derrick Henry, Wildcat setup. Derrick Henry takes the snap and Big Jeff sneaks around the back and ends up.
Hey, I would be all about that. We seen him finally put him out there for the blocking. Let's see him get out there. We've seen practice footage of him catching.
Yeah.
And one thing I forgot to mention earlier. Did you know that Mike Vrabel, after a bye week, is 4-0? But Mike Vrabel, after an extended, after a little bit longer time, like say they play on Thursday night and have longer to prepare.
A longer week.
Yeah, a longer week, 8-0. So,
I like it. More time to prepare. All that good stuff. You got anything else to add in?
Don't think so. Other than just, I'm ready to be in Nashville, see how electric that stadium's going to be. If you're watching this, you've made it this far, if you're going to be at the game, come say hi to me. We like meeting our listeners and everything. And if you have tickets to the game, don't sell them. Especially don't sell them to Bengals fans. Let's fill this stadium up with Titans fans and absolutely give them a true home field advantage and make this the loudest stadium to play in the playoffs. I mean, I'm hearing all these other crowds from watching like the wild card games, and I'm like, Nissan Stadium has to match that at least. Like, it affected the game several times and the players. So
it's been something that the Titans or Nissan Stadium has struggled with at times. So we'll see. It should be fun though. It should be fun. I think things are going to be different. I think Nashville will be more electric, like you said, than during the regular season, obviously. And I think that there will be just a little different type of atmosphere. But hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening. This has been Titans Time, and as always, Tighten up.